Wow, what a turnout. This is an exciting day for us. Good afternoon and welcome to campus. I'm Joe Karlgaard, the Director of Athletics here at Rice University. 9 days ago, we began our search for a new head football coach. And we were looking for the right fit. Someone who understood and lived the university values of responsibility, integrity, community, and excellence. We also wanted someone who had excelled in coaching and developing young men as football players and scholars, who had won when others said it couldn't be done. Someone who was willing to think differently and creatively and embrace the unconventional wisdom that you can have a championship football program filled with serious students who would challenge themselves to reach their full potential in life. We identified several possible matches and quickly reached out to a small group of our top candidates. The interest in our job was terrific, not bound by conference, experience, or geography. We had several candidates who could do this job and told us they would take it if offered, but one rose above the rest. He is an extraordinary fit for this university and our football program because he embodies all those qualities I mentioned a moment ago. Before I introduce him to all of you, though, I have several people to thank today, and without their support, we'd still be looking for a coach. President David Lebron has been a terrific partner and counselor to me throughout my 4 years at Rice and was an excellent collaborator and recruiter in this search. Our future is bright, and that starts with our president's vision for excellence in athletics. Our trustees, donors, and supporters of the football program, including the chair of our board of trustees, Bobby Tudor, who is here today, thank you for your trust, support, unity, and excitement during this process. Gene DiFilippo and Turnkey Search, hiring a football coach is not easy, and we couldn't have done it without Gene's guidance and advice along the way. Stephen Prather with SportSource Analytics. Stephen helped me look at this search through the data and an analysis of risk, and I'm grateful to have worked with him on finding the right match for Rice. Interim head coach Brian Stewart and the rest of our coaching and support staff. They have continued to represent Rice with class, integrity, and the best interests of our players and university at heart. Our players, thank you for your feedback during this process. I think we've delivered you a great leader and coach. Athletic department personnel, including Rick Mello, Brian Blair, Brian Mann, Tanner Gardner, Chuck Poole, and Laura Chilton. From tracking and returning inbound communication to helping me assess and vet candidates to creating a special day for the Bloomgren family, thank you. University personnel, including Richard Zansitis and Joe Davidson from the General Counsel's Office, Mary Cronin in Human Resources, Kathy Collins in the Office of Finance, and Rob Griffin, our faculty athletics representative. I'm really fortunate to work with A-plus partners across the university. Thank you to all of you who made this day happen. And last but not least, I need to thank my wife, Jill. I basically disappeared for a week with very little notice. We have 3 kids, including 2-year-old twins. I'm not able to conduct this kind of search with the thoroughness that we did without her picking up my parenting slack. So thank you, and I love you, Jill. But I'm just a warm-up act today, so let me now introduce and turn things over to the 19th head football coach in Rice University history, Mike Bloomgren.
I guess first thing I should do is thank you all for coming out today. I mean, this is incredible, and like Joe just mentioned, this is a very special day for our family, incredibly special day. And there's a lot of excitement that our family feels and has felt a lot of love from this university already. I don't know that I could give you words to express how I feel to be here today, how grateful I am to be handed the reins of the football program at Rice University. I am just beyond excited and ready for this job. I got to thank that president sitting right over there, President Lebron, and for taking the time to spend with Laura and I to make us realize his vision is really for alignment and for, as Joe mentioned, the importance and the role that athletics plays in a great university like Rice. And that meant the world to us. Thank you for taking the time. I also got to thank Joe Karlgaard, who believed in me, who does believe in me, and the search committee who chose me. Because I feel like this is an unbelievable fit for myself and for Rice University. And fit is so important to us as we've gone down the line with this. I got to thank David Shaw, my boss for the past 7 years. He's been incredible to me. He's given me an opportunity to go from being an offensive line coach and a run game coordinator to become his offensive coordinator, then a year later become his associate head coach and be able to go down the road and through all the meetings with him and stand in for him and all the lessons he's taught me on and off the field. I just can't thank him enough. And then you get to the people who are here, who traveled a little distance for me, my lovely wife, Laura. And my sons, Tyler and Parker, who everybody just flew in this morning. I think we made the right decision not putting them on the red eye last night. But they're here, and also joining us today is one of my old bosses and his wife, Dennis Franchione, and his wife, Kim. You know, it's hard. You can probably hear the emotion in my voice, and that's something you're always going to get with me, is emotion and passion. And when I talk about the people who have helped me along the way, people like Coach Fran, who hired me twice and who helped me every step of the way, I'll never forget my first head coaching job, my first position coaching job. Coming out of the GA role at Alabama, I interviewed at a place by the name of Catawba College. And the head coach told me later, Dennis Franchione grabbed him and said, "You better hire him, and you better pay him everything you can." And it meant the world to me. Everything he could was $25,000 plus an opportunity to teach. But that's where we were at that time. And again, this girl who has been with me through every move, and you know, the best thing I can say about her is she supported my poor coaching habit. And what that meant for us is on that move in North Carolina, she worked in the locked unit of a psych ward. And so again, I think that's a pretty selfless act right there. So I appreciate her more than I could ever express. Just to tell you a little bit about my path started about 15 miles down the road. I went to Spring Shadows Elementary. First team sport I ever played was baseball at Spring Branch All-American Little League. And I think it still exists. I Googled it last night to make sure. And so that was my deal. I was a baseball player and then moved to Tallahassee, Florida at the age of 10 and fell in love with this game of football. And really fell in love with it because I had my high school football coach, a guy named Mike Hickman, who would take me and throw me into a locker if I wasn't doing the right things. You know, he was absolutely the father figure I needed at that time. And I made a decision during high school I was going to become a football coach. And I thought I was going to become a high school football coach so I could do the same thing for kids that he did for me. And that was my goal. I never envisioned doing anything else. From that time, he had GA'd for Coach Bowden at West Virginia, and he went across the way and asked Coach Bowden if I could come over and work there. And for a kid in Tallahassee, Florida at that time, and I guess I should tell you that my high school practice field was 100 yards from Florida State's practice field. So we would get done with two-a-days and have a break in the day, and I'd go watch Charlie Ward and Warwick Dunn. And I don't know if it was possible not to become eaten up with football. And I certainly did. But a chance to go work there, and then a chance to go to Alabama and work with Coach Fran, a couple other stops along the way, Catawba College and Delta State. And then took my wife from Cleveland, Mississippi to the small town of New York and worked with the Jets for 4 years. And that's another great story, because as you talk about like the sacrifice your family has to make and the things that make you who you are, we had just had our son, and they offered us a job. They said, you can come work in the National Football League, and we'll give you $45,000 to live on Long Island. And we won't give you benefits. And so we turned the job down. And they called back an hour later and said, okay, we'll give you $45,000 and benefits. And we moved up there. And sometimes you look back and I want to ask her why she let us do it. But it's something we've always done. We've always bet on ourselves. And so thankful that she let me do that and feel like I got my PhD in football up there. And then, again, David Shaw hired me at Stanford 7 years ago. It's really been an incredible ride. And I cannot wait to start this new chapter. I had an opportunity to meet with the team today, and I think they felt how excited I was. I probably jumped into the crowd a couple times and started walking at them, and I'll calm myself down, and I had to remind them that we can't start spring ball for about 3 months, and there's a lot of work to be done between now and then, but that I simply can't wait to get started is my biggest message to them. A couple points of emphasis that I need to make sure that I'm hitting and make sure that people understand what I think this job, what I think this program should be. And I think that at Stanford, we did a good job always talking about raising the bar and how the price always increases year in and year out. And I think that's one thing we have to do right now within this program is we've got to raise that bar. We've got to raise the standard. And the standard of excellence on and off the field is something we're going to try to pursue in everything we do. Excellence is not something that can be in one phase of your life. It has to go across all of your life. And that's something we're going to really try to make sure these kids understand. We're going to have fun. We're going to work hard. And we're going to realize that we're playing a game, but we're going to work really hard at it to make sure that we're making the progress we need to make. We told them that there's a path. There's a process to everything we want to do. And initially here, we're going to ask them to give us a little bit of rope. Give us a little bit of trust. And let us earn it as we go. But trust me and what I'm doing for this program, and trust the process and commit themselves to it. I think we want to be the model program for great students who excel in the classroom and want championship football. And you can't take that lightly, because those things often don't go hand in hand in Division I. But I have seen firsthand how those things can work together and even thrive together. And that's exactly what we need to do at Rice University. Other things that I think, as we talked to the players, that I thought were really cool is to see their response and to see them, as I talked to them, and I told them, you know, the thing you have to understand is there is an absolute clear slate for you. Where you're at in the program right now, the coaches will watch the film, and they're going to hear about you. I want them to see the evaluation, if that makes sense. I don't want them to listen to the evaluation about players. I want them to watch with their eyes and see what those guys have done. But the way we're going to evaluate these guys for who gets on the field next fall is by what they do from this day forward. So everything is a clean slate. The other things that they need to know is that we are adopting them. And it's not that they're anybody else's players. They are our players. I am theirs, and they are ours. They are mine. And we have to understand that. They got to know and they've got to feel that we absolutely want what's best for them. And we're going forward with their best interest at heart. And again, as I talked to you about, we asked them to extend a little bit of trust so we could really get to work and get this thing rolling. I can't tell you how thrilled I am to be here and to be a part of this program, this university. I'm so excited. And to be honest with you, I can't wait to get on the road recruiting for this university next week. At this time, I'll open it up for questions. About 2 years ago, about 2 years before the job came open. This is one that was really special to us, and I can explain why. When you go through the recruiting piece, when you first get to a school that is really trying to get that unique student athlete that cares about both, and is really, you're having to really compete to find those guys. But the difference is when you get to work with them day in and day out and see how special those guys are, and how self-motivated, self-driven they are, you fall in love with that caliber of student athlete. And there's very few places you can get it. And you just look around the country, and the ones that are well-positioned, I'd lived in Houston before, I did a very good job of not bothering Joe. I didn't call him much. I didn't bother him, I don't think. I hope I didn't bother you, but I did. I thought about this job and had earmarked this one as a really special opportunity for me and my family. 2 years ago. Well, the team, obviously, we went into last year's game against them, and we saw some things defensively that we were going to try to take advantage of, some places where they were smaller personnel-wise than some teams we play. And then going into Australia this year, we didn't really know exactly what to expect scheme-wise, but a lot of those guys were back. Certainly didn't think it would go as well as it did for us that day in Sydney. But at the same time, that's football. You get things rolling and momentum gets on your side and things happen. But as I look at Rice as the year continued, and I have not watched all the film, but I will, what I saw is a group that continued to fight, even when circumstances were really tough. And so I think that's a good starting point for us right now. One thing we have to teach them, and we have to continue to emphasize in everything we do this offseason, is the ability to finish and finding a way to finish. And that's exactly what we're going to do. The fit, I don't know how to say it any better. It really is, because I've fallen in love with those kind of student athletes. I think I relate to them very well. I know how to recruit them. I know that if I can get mama on campus, I got a really good shot showing her all the things a place like Rice University has. And those things have been huge for us. But I love the role models that my kids have day in and day out when they come to practice. And I really think I'm going to find a very similar student athlete here. And those are the guys we're going to recruit going forward.
Speaking of recruiting, anxious to kind of get along with that?
Yes, sir. Yeah, there's a lot going on with recruiting right now. The early signing day is something that certainly seems like there's a ticking bomb in my ear right now, and that's what it is the early signing period. Got some commits right now that we're in a good place with, and we're going to go to work and find a few more. That's a great question. Something that Joe and I have talked about. I think with the academic model, when you have to find somebody that is that elite in the classroom and that elite on the field, it is absolutely something we want to do. But I'd be remiss if we completely left Texas out, right? It's as fine as a hotbed of recruiting as there is, and largely because of the coaches. Like, I've had experience going into these high school coaches and getting to sit down and talk ball with them. I don't know that there's any group in America. I know there's not, actually. There's nobody like the high school coaches in the state of Texas. The way they prepare their guys, the way they love their guys, the way they push them, the off-season programs. So, again, being in the state of Texas, I think it would be silly for us to say, we're only going to get a few kids from Texas. At Stanford, we reached out, and we had 8 or 10 a year on our team from the state of Texas. And obviously, being right here in Houston with all these great coaches around us, we're going to take advantage of that as well, while spot recruiting nationally. I would say that it's the availability of the coaches is one thing. In the state of Texas, a lot of them don't teach. A lot of them are full-time coaches, great at what they do, so the accessibility to them. Whereas if you're in the state of Oregon or the state of California, they might be teaching history, and you might have trouble getting in touch with them. I'm not sure if that's exactly what you're asking, but I would also say that I couldn't say that I'm a West Coast recruiter. I've recruited Florida every job I've been, every job I've had, South Georgia, Cincinnati, Ohio, and yes, Orange County, California. But you think about all the kids we've signed out of the state of Texas at Stanford, and I've been a part of sitting in all those kids' homes, including one from right down the road in Walker Little, which if we can get him to transfer, that would be awesome. Absolutely. It's what I believe in. I believe in a West Coast foundation with a power running game. I think that if you can run the rock, control the clock, score touchdowns, and play great defense, it's a recipe to win games and championships. And that's what we're going to try to do. Now, in year one, we're going to see what best fits our personnel and how we can incorporate those things. But you will feel and see a physical style of play.
I'm going to close it out real quickly here just by acknowledging a few others that I've seen walk into the room. Reggie DeRoche is our brand new Dean of Engineering. Reggie, just give a wave. I think it's pretty significant that the Dean of Engineering is at the press conference for our new football coach. And that's a partnership that really interested us with Mike and the number of engineers they had on their football team at Stanford, and something we would love to see grow and prosper here at Rice as well. So thanks for coming today, Reggie. Bucky Allshouse is here. Bucky's a longtime trustee and former football player. Thanks for coming, Bucky. Thanks for all your help. And just all our terrific head coaches, assistant coaches, and staff who came out today to support Coach Bloomgren. I appreciate all you guys. You know, a number of people have asked how they can support the football program going forward, and I'm reminded of the old adage that 80% of life is showing up. Show up. Come to our games. Come to our events. That's the first and best way that you can support Mike and his staff and our players moving forward. Of course, we'd like to see you at games, so buying tickets is important. Joining the Owl Club is important. But please, come out and be around this man, and I think you'll learn a lot about him and how he's going to move this program forward. We're going to have a reception afterwards. We've got a few media obligations that we have to take care of right now, but I'd invite all of you to join us in the lobby at the conclusion so that you can spend some time and get to know Coach Bloomgren. So thanks for coming.